Good morning, members. According to the rules of procedure, I have the highest president among members on this subcommittee, so I will chair the session to elect the chairman and the deputy chairman. And the agenda has been tabled in front of you, so now let's have the election, or rather, the election of the chairman of the subcommittee on matters relating to railways under the transport panel. In accordance with the Appendix 6 and the House Rules 22F, please, members, nominate the member for the chairman. That nomination shall be made orally by one member and seconded orally by another member, and the nominee has to accept the nomination. Any nomination? Mr. Chan and Pen, I nominate Mr. Michael Tian. Any seconder? Mr. Edward Lau. Mr. Michael Tian, do you accept the nomination? Yes, I do. Any other nomination? Mr. Alvin Yang. Ms. Tanya Chan. Any seconder? Mr. Jeremy Tam seconds the nomination. Ms. Chan, do you accept the nomination? Yes, I do. Any other nomination? So some members are still coming in. 2 members have just stepped in. So let me ask once again. I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any nomination for chairman? There are 2 nominations just now, Ms. Tanya Chan and Mr. Michael Tan. I will count 5. Any further nomination? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. If there is no further nomination, so we have 2 nominees to be the chairman of this subcommittee. So now let's take the vote. Let's distribute the ballot papers. Let's do a secret ballot. Our staff, I can vote too, right? So a ballot paper will be distributed to each member, and also a chop will be given out. Number 1, Michael Tan. Number 2, Tanya Chan. Well, please do not leave your seat until all the ballot papers have been distributed and you have chopped or stamped your ballot papers. Every member has got a stamp and a ballot paper, right? So the secretariat can now collect the ballot papers. Mr. Leung, you are late. But then we still have the election of the vice chairman. Can Mr. Chen Hanpan and Mr. Alvin Yan come out to supervise the counting of the votes? Number one. 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 Or rather number two, sorry. Number one. I'm seeing an ophthalmologist or optometrist rather. Number one. Number two. Number two. Number two. Number two. So let's count the ballot papers again. So we have carefully counted. Number one, 11 votes for Michael Tan and 6 votes for Ms. Tanya Chan. So Mr. Michael Tan has been elected. So can Mr. Tan come and conduct or chair the election of the deputy chairman and other discussion of the other agenda items? Well, thank you very much for your support, and I will be dedicated to my work and do my utmost, and I will serve everyone. Now let's have the election of the deputy chairman for the subcommittee on matters relating to railways 16-17 session. And valid nomination has to be made orally by one member and seconded orally by another member and be accepted by the nominee. Any nominations? Mr. Chen Hanpan, Mr. Edward Lau. Any seconder? Mr. Edward Lau, do you accept the nomination? Yes. Any other nomination? Mr. Jeremy Tam. Ms. Claudia Mo. Any seconder? Ms. Tanya Chan, second. Ms. Mo, do you accept the nomination? Yes, I do. Any further nomination? I will count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there is none, I think we will take a vote by secret ballot. So can the staff members distribute a ballot paper to each member present?
I
don't think I'll have to read the rest of the script, right? Number 1 is Mr. Edward Lau. Number 2 is Ms. Claudia Mo.
有冇委員尚未？
Any member who has not been given a ballot paper? No? All right. If members have stamped your secret paper, so the voting is closed, and staff members should not distribute any more ballot paper. Please collect the ballot papers.
派出咗咋？我哋派出咗幾多張？我哋總共派出咗。
We have distributed a total of 18 ballot papers. Can Mr. Chen Han-pan and Mr. Jeremy Tam come forward to supervise the counting? Let's count the total number of ballot papers collected. Make sure it's 18. Number one. Number one. Number two. Number two. Number one. Number one. Number one. Number two. Number two. Number one. 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 Number two. Number two. Well, let's count again. Mr. Edward Lau, number 112 votes. Ms. Claudia Mo, number 26 votes. I declare Mr. Edward Lau elected as the Deputy Chairman of the Subcommittee on Matters relating to Railways, and all the ballot papers will be destroyed under the supervision of the Secretariat. Congratulations, Mr. Lau. Well, Ms. Tanya Chan, well, I'm just raising my hands up because I wanted to speak on the items to be discussed for the next meeting.
Ms. Tanya Chen, we have a letter from you. Yes, I wrote this before. It's about the SIL, and today there's another problem. Well, first, let's discuss in accordance with our agenda. Okay, proposed schedule of meetings for the 2016-17 session. So, in principle, once every 2 months. So, is at 10:45 every first Friday. So if we look at the distribution of the schedule, all right, the 2nd of December should have been our first meeting, but then it's too closest to today's meeting. So may I invite members to consider rescheduling it to the 9th of December so that we can have 1 more week's time for preparation. And then the next meeting will be in February 2017. All right, 3rd of February will be too close to the Chinese New Year, so we are proposing to reschedule it to the 10th of February instead. And then the following one would be on the 7th of April, as we have the special FC meetings, and then we will also be having Easter holidays and so on. So we are proposing to reschedule it to the 28th of April, and then the following one will be on the 2nd of June. So other than the fact that they are not exactly once every 2 months, basically we follow the old practice. So any comments on that? If not, then let's confirm the schedule of our regular meetings. Now turning to any other items that members might wish to propose. Yes? Please raise your hands as to what items you'd like to propose for discussion. Claudia Mo, anyone else? Chen Hangpan, Edward Lau. All right, let me read out the names. Tanya Chen, Claudia Mo, Elizabeth Quat, Chen Hangpan, Edward Yu, and also, all right, the secretary just wrote down the surname. That's why I'll have to find out who she's referring to. Yes, Tanya Chen. Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Chen Hangpan for circulating the letter to the Secretariat with regard to the delay of the SIL's commissioning date. We'd like to know more about this, and according to further news, on the 15th of December, they're going to commission the service. But then as to whether or not it's true, we are still not sure. And today is already November. There's less than a month to go. And also with regard to the SCL, today there are reports in the press that the cost overrun is very serious. It might be even higher than the XRL, and we might have to spend more than $100 billion before we can complete the works. So I'd like to know the extent of delays and also the cost overrun issue. And also, we hope that they can give us a progress update. I think they are pretty urgent, and therefore can we discuss that at the next meeting? Chairman? Definitely. Yes, Claudia Mo. Chairman, with regard to railway development, the most important thing is the XRL with regard to co-location of immigration facilities and also security check and also progress. I think we have to press ahead as soon as possible. This is an unprecedented railway project for Hong Kong, and of course for the SCL, for the archaeological finds and also the works and also the cost issue and so on. Is it because of the archaeological finds that has led to the cost overrun? And we are having fewer meetings, and in fact we don't have that many meetings to go. And therefore, with regard to XRL and also the SCL and even the SIL, can we discuss that at one meeting, in particular the next meeting, so that we can cover all the 3 railway projects in one go? Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. I understand that we've been following on the SCL, and now we have heard about the possible cost overrun and also further delays. So I also hope that we can discuss the SRL project next time. Chen Hangpan. Thank you, Chairman. Earlier on, many members were concerned about the Tung Chung light rail. Well, for the light rail, which is supposed to tie in with the development of Tung Chung, is very important. But then we haven't seen it yet in the government's plan. So we'd like to discuss that. And the second is about Tuen Mun Chuen Wan to Sha Tin's railway. Yes, under the RDS 2014, it was given lower priority. But then with an increase in population and also further planning. I hope that we can bring that up again for discussion. And also, I'd like to follow up on the Northern Link from Lok Ma Chau to Kam Tien. I think the railway project should be planned and constructed. Next, Edward Yu. Well, with regard to the major projects which have seen delays and cost overrun, I think it's pretty obvious. It's not an isolated incident. And therefore, instead of discussing them one by one on the reason for delays and cost overrun, I think we should have a consolidated discussion on the contract issues and also cost control issues. Well, I understand that there is a special office set up by the administration to supervise these projects, but then it's not about cost control and so on. So I've been discussing whether or not we should introduce independent auditors to monitor the implementation or enforcement of contract terms and so on. So I hope that that can be discussed as an independent item. So we can discuss the contract terms and also cost control issue as an independent item. So are you referring to the entrustment contract or whatever? Or is it about a project supervised or managed by the MTRCL itself? Yes, both. Yes, I hope that we can also discuss the East Rail issue. East Kowloon Rail. Are you referring to the East Kowloon Rail? That's the railway RDS 2030 that was included. Yes, Edward Lau. Yes, as Chen Hang-pen just said. I'd like to follow up on the Northern Link because supposedly we've been told that there would be this line, but then we are not sure about the location of the stations and so on. So can it be extended so that it can go further into Sha Tau Kok and there can be more stops or stations, and also what's the progress so far? So I'd like to know, I'd like to have a more detailed discussion, in particular for the development of Northeast new territories. We would also like to follow up on that. Next. Well, in the Hong Shui Kyu new development area, we have an environmentally friendly system, and according to my understanding, most of these would be light rail projects. So can that be included in our discussion agenda? And also, I'd like to know better about the overall development with regard to manpower implications and resource implications, because I've also received comments from trade unions that they are reducing manpower at different stations. So can the MTRCL give us more details? Would there be enough manpower, and would they be conducting further recruitment exercises? So I'd like to know more about this. Anyone else? If not, then the administration has proposed that in 3 weeks at our regular meeting, they'd like us to discuss the hottest topics, that is the XRL, the SCL, and also the SIL. So these are the issues that the administration has proposed, and it's been some time ago since we last discussed it, so they'd like to give us an update. So can we have a longer meeting schedule, because just one item would take up more than an hour. So do we have to start at 10:45? Can we start earlier? Well, we can start at 10. So what about even earlier? So can we start even earlier? Because it's been too long ago when we last discussed these. All right, if we can start at 10, then we can end by 1, and then we can have at least 3 hours. So we'll check the availability of meeting rooms. All right, we'll inform you in due course. Any further items on the AOB? If not, then our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.